Emma,
Hello.
welcome to the couch.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. I know you're flat out with your own business, and we were talking just before the camera started rolling, and this is a bit of a break for invoicing for you, so it's probably
thank you.
not a bad thing.
I appreciate it. It's a holiday.
A holiday down the other end of Perth.
Of the world, yeah.
Now, look, first cab off the rank, I have to ask, whenever I get someone on the couch here, I tend to do a little bit of a deep dive into their socials and their, LinkedIn and so on and so forth.
Stalker.
A little bit. As an evident lover of the likes of Motorhead, Carnival, The Prodigy, Jeff Wayne, Till Lindemann, Iron Maiden, and Megadeth, just to name a few that I could see, when you're on site, do you ever cringe at the never-ending tidal wave of Imagine Dragons and Jimmy Barnes on the radio?
Nah, I mean, on site there's usually a few people that listen to metal, and we have our own little corner, our own little mosh pit of the site, and our music is usually pretty loud. It's we're out there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's not always pop music. It's either pub rock or it's heavy metal.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to see. Some people infiltrating from my spectrum, infiltrating the workforce.
It's the family.
Yeah. Your own family or the
No. Well, anyone that's in the metal genre is family.
Absolutely.
We're blood.
Absolutely. That's how it all works. Look, I want to take you back to when you were in school, deciding what you wanted to do. Why did you always want to do a trade? I've read in a couple of interviews somewhere that you were always wanted to sort of do a trade, but you never quite got into it. So what was it about a trade that appealed to you? And why a trade, I suppose?
I don't really know. I don't really have one specific reason. I guess I was always very hands-on when I was a kid. My dad was a tradesman, so we were always at he was with Telecom, the telephone exchange, running around touching things that we shouldn't have been touching and things, and that kind of thing always interested me. I knew I didn't want to work in an office. I knew I didn't want to be a hairdresser. I knew I didn't want to go to college or uni or anything like that. So trade was just the obvious solution answer for me.
And what was it about college and uni and all that just didn't tickle your fancy?
I really struggle to sit still. I can't sit still. I can't sit still and listen to someone talk all day. And I don't learn that way. I need to learn with my hands and by doing things, and yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's good. You're in the right field then.
Yeah.
As it would turn out. I read somewhere as well in one of those interviews that you always wanted to go into a trade, but you were kind of not talked out of it, but almost pushed out of it in the early initial instances. What happened?
I didn't get pushed out per se. I got turned down a lot. I mean, the 80s and 90s were, a real turning point for gender equality. And when I left school, gender-specific roles were still very much a thing, not just in the workforce but at home as well. And anyone, male or female, trying to get into like a non-traditional role was finding it quite challenging, I guess. I mean, female mechanics and male nurses back then were not a thing. Stay-at-home dads as well. It was just it was the start of something that, I don't know how to describe it. It was just the lay of the land at the time, I guess. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really put off and I wasn't really pushed away. I still kept trying, which is why I'm here now, but nobody's going to tell me I can't do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're a trailblazer?
No, just stubborn, I guess.
I'm sure there's a bit of stubbornness in the people who tend to do things first.
True.
Well, not first maybe, but the initial group, shall we say.
True. I don't see myself as a trailblazer. I just wanted it and I went for it.
Good. It's good. You were turned down a few times. You mentioned that there were quite a few times that you were turned down. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that was a product of the time. You're not from Perth. You're from
Kalgoorlie.
Kalgoorlie. Was it a Kalgoorlie thing as well? I mean, it's a kind of a small-ish town with a lot going on.
It's a smallish town, and there are the manly men there. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I tried in Perth as well, and I got the same result. I don't think it was specifically Kalgoorlie. It probably didn't help much, but no, not specifically. No.
Do you think things have changed significantly?
Yeah, I mean, change takes time. You had people in the 80s. I mean, Gender Discrimination Act wasn't even a thing until the mid-80s. And you had, I don't know, Bob Hawke and Quinton Bryce out there pushing and promoting it. And change takes time. It takes time. We're still doing it now. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but we will be eventually.
So you started off, we mentioned before, you started off your life working for Woolies. What did you do? I've read what there, but for the people watching, what did you do exactly?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah, I started on checkouts. I ended up in senior management, so I did everything in between. I ran departments. I ran, a little bit of everything else. I had a really broad exposure to the workings of a supermarket giant like that.
And when you were in upper management, you were in people management? Were you logistics?
No, I was senior management, but I wasn't quite store manager, but we did the same kind of duties. I mean, we had to oversee the running of the supermarket and make sure the department managers were doing their things. Logistics was part of it. HR was part of it. OHS was part of it. Shrinkage, customer service above all. Yeah. Customer service.
Customer is always right.
Customer
even when they're not.
Totally always right.
And I suppose, how did that role help you in what you're doing now? I'm just thinking, for anyone who might be watching, who might be stuck, I shouldn't say stuck, but is in a job in Woolies or something like that, and they want to be an apprentice, are there learnings? Should they be going to work and thinking, this is going to get me absolutely nowhere, I'm never going to learn anything, there's no point in me being here? Did you take anything out of that? I mean, even just people management skills, right?
Everything that I know now is from Woolworths. I mean, they train and they mentor you to do it their way, which is fine. But I mean, how many life skills do you get from customer service? Just serving a customer on the checkout. Language. You think you know language, but you don't know language until you're dealing with an angry lady who's just picked up her 7 kids from school and just wants to buy a loaf of bread, Everything I know about running a business came from Woolies. Yep. People management is one.
Yep. And you manage people at the moment?
Only a couple, but I'll get there.
Yeah. The plan's to have a few more, right?
Yeah. World domination.
Of course. So you left Woolies. You mentioned that you were always trying to get into an apprenticeship, but why specifically that time when you left Woolies? What was the penny drop moment? Or did you just get an opportunity and go, I'm going to go for it?
Just an opportunity. I mean, the plan at Woolworths was to work there temporarily until I got an apprenticeship. Then I started at Woolworths in 97 and I got an apprenticeship in 2012, so it was like 15 years of temporary.
Yeah.
No sudden epiphany, no real reason. It was, I had the opportunity. EGT offered me an apprenticeship and, it was just time. That was always the plan, so.
The best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or of mice if you're a fan of Douglas Adams. So you got an apprenticeship. It was through EGT. Now, sort of looking from the outside, and I'm not a tradesman at all. My dad's in the building, in the construction industry. My mum's sort of in that area as well. She's an interior designer. But I believe there's some pretty significant advantages of doing an apprenticeship through EGT as opposed to becoming an indentured apprentice. Is that accurate? Am I on the right spot, or are we?
Yeah, I mean, if just say the company that you're placed with or you're working for runs out of work, or unfortunately they close, if you work for a group training organisation, you'll get a placement with another company and you don't lose your apprenticeship. You carry on with someone else. You've also got the option to, move from host to host. So if you want to work domestic, industrial, solar, whatever, you've got that option to move around. You also get allocated like a mentor, a field officer in this case, someone that's outside of the company that you're working for that's going to give you support or step in if they need to, or, stuff like that.
And you obviously get exposed to a variety of different industries, a variety of different companies. Maybe that means that you're a bit more of a jack of all trades and not so much necessarily really, really good at, roughing in a house or something. I don't know what the correct term is, I'm sorry.
That's fine, that's good. You nailed it.
Good. And insofar as the support that you got there at EGT, if you can remember back to when that was, how would that have differed insofar as other people that you've heard about who have gone through, say, an indentured role?
For example, at TAFE at college, we had a kid in our class who had only done tubing, and we were in our 4th year of studies, and he'd only done tubing, so he had no experience with anything else. We had a 4th year come to the company I was working at the time. He had been up north on the mines the whole time. He didn't know the basics. They'd sort of just been using him to lay conduit and pull cable and things. Yeah. What was the question?
Sounds like there's a few gaps.
There is a few gaps. I mean, the thing with EGT specifically is if they identify that this person or he identifies himself or themselves that they're not getting the experience that they need, they have the option to move.
Oh.
This guy's only using me to do this. I really need to get into switchboards. Can I get placed with someone who's going to give me that experience?
And you've got it in spades.
Yeah.
So that's positive, obviously. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you went through your apprenticeship, you finished your apprenticeship, and you decided to stay under someone's wing for a time, rather than going out on your own straight away. Is that correct, or have I got that wrong?
No, I worked for a couple of companies after my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
I probably learnt more in the 2 years following my apprenticeship than I did throughout my apprenticeship. No offence to my tradesmen. You guys were great, but there's a difference between being under somebody's wing for 4 years and then all of a sudden you're qualified and you're on your own. You need to make your own choices. You need to... The 2 years following were the most productive for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Then the buck stops with you, in other words, from what I'm hearing you say. So you're making these decisions based on your own... You've got your own skin in the game almost.
Yeah.
So what sort of things did you learn during that time, if I can ask?
Confidence.
Okay.
You don't have anyone to rely on. Well, they're still there, but you don't have anyone to rely on. It's on you now.
Mm-hmm.
Problem solving as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working on a job and you're on your own and you have a problem, you need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Just stuff like that. Experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And what are some of the common problems that you encountered that the first time you encountered them, you went, oh, for the love of it, and then you sort of realised it was kind of a common problem, not really a big deal?
Everything.
Right.
Everything. Nothing specific. Everything.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's good. It's good to have a bit of a light on that, because I think in today's market, particularly in today's electrical market, I think there's a lot of people who might be considering coming into the electrical trade because they hear of the dollar figures on the mine sites. And they're big, don't get me wrong. From coming from the East Coast and coming over here, I had no concept of how much money was actually in the mines. And then I hear of some 19-year-old making 180 a year and you go, what? Yeah. It's just ludicrous. But there are challenges as well along with that, whether it's FIFO work or whether it's,
working in the mines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it, so I can't really comment on it, but being away from home for, a length of time would be okay to begin with, I imagine, for me anyway, and then it would get quite boring, I think. The money would be great, but what are you giving up for it? I guess. Yeah, but I haven't done it, so I don't really know. Some people probably love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I got a good friend of mine who's a geologist in the mines, and he loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah, and his missus loves it as well. It's a good.
Does she?
Good works for them.
Well, if it works, it works.
I think my missus would murder me, but if I took a job like that. But anyway, so when you went in and you stayed under a couple of someone's wing for a little bit, worked for another person, but you're your own tradesperson. Yep. You took a couple of years to start your own business. A lot of people, from what I understand, when they finish their apprenticeship, they go out on their own, they start their own business almost straight away. I suppose the question I'm asking is, you stayed under under the wing of someone else to make sure you'd learned enough to make sure you could start your business and actually run it efficiently, from what I'm hearing anyway.
Yeah.
Is there a tale of caution there for people who are just finishing up and they're going, oh, I want to go and do that? Is it better to have a couple of years and learn a whole bunch of stuff under some other people first, rather than, going in with angel's fear to tread?
I think walking out of Capstone and jumping straight into someone's roof space is bold. I mean, you're responsible for, it's somebody's house for a start, but I just think it's an experience thing. I don't, people are doing their apprenticeships earlier and earlier now as well. It's not just the hands-on skills, but it's the life experience that comes with running a business as well. For me, it took me so long just to get my apprenticeship that I didn't want to risk losing the business early on. So I wanted to be cautious to a degree, I guess.
Yeah. And is that something you'd advise the young
be
people
careful.
watching?
I mean, totes, do yourself. You be you, but I would wait. I would wait for the right time.
So you went out, you started your own company. What year did you start Frankenstein?
Last year.
Last year. Okay, so very new. You didn't have to go through COVID with it, which, wasn't really much of a COVID thing.
It's the tail end of it, yeah.
I have to ask about the name.
Okay.
Now, is this a clever reference to Mary Shelley, or is this something else completely?
I don't compare myself to Mary Shelley. No. I mean, she created Frankenstein, at a time when women didn't have any rights.
And science fiction.
First science fiction book.
Yeah.
Yep. Written by anyone, male, female, doesn't matter. I created my Frankenstein under much less oppression than she did. I'm no Mary Shelley, no. No.
So where's the genesis of the name?
It comes from the need to make things work, I guess, to have to engineer something to retrofit, something to just say you walk into a school, there's 50 lights in this room, old troffers, and one doesn't work. They don't want to replace the lights. So you literally have to make this light work with parts that don't exist anymore. So you are scrounging for parts from old lights, new lights. You got to rewire it. It might involve retrofitting LEDs into it. It's you have to create things to make it work quite often.
So you're literally Frankensteining a solution.
I'm Dr. Frankenstein.
That explains the doctor on your
my
email signature. Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if it was that or if it was a Doctor Who reference, both of which I'm pleasantly happy with.
No.
Now, when we were talking off air, and I alluded to it earlier, you were mentioning that you try and get invoicing done so that you've got some time at home. Which, I'm sorry to remind you of the paperwork that's awaiting you.
Yeah.
But I have read that it's not all about work for you. You tend to do spend a bit of your spare time, I should say, mentoring and volunteering as well. Take us through what that looks like for you and why you decided to do that. Not everyone decides to mentor and volunteer and all that kind of stuff.
I do it because, I mean, if I can make it easier for anyone, a female, to get into any industry, then that's why I do it, you know. COVID really put a hold on the whole volunteering thing. I was with the Department of Education and Training. We go around to schools and talk to the students about the pros of doing, taking a career in the VET sector as opposed to going to university. Why should you do it? This is why I did it. This is why it's good for me. This is why I think you should consider it. So it was promoting the industry in general. I'm a committee member for SALT Australia as well. They go around, they do workshops teaching females how to, hand skills, how to build things. They're coming here soon, doing a couple of rural areas. Because of COVID though, generally it's just support for people, and it's not just apprentices or trades, it's anyone that's in the construction industry, any female that's in the construction industry. It could be a project manager, it could be, the admin lady, anyone. It's a tough industry to be in, and I think everybody needs a little bit of support sometimes. That's it.
Absolutely. It's good. I mean, not a lot of people will volunteer their time.
No.
A lot of them will knock off, go down the pub and then go home.
Yep.
You're not doing that.
No, when I started I didn't have it. I mean, I had field officers, but I didn't have, there was no one. The only person that I got to speak to was the lady in the office, really, and she was sort of in the same boat as I was. So if I can make it easier for someone else to get through and stay in the profession that they chose, then great.
And it looks like the career in electrical has afforded you not only the ability to be a bit more selfless with your time and give back a bit, but you're also a bit of a traveller. I've seen through your socials. Where have we gone?
Where have I gone? Russia. I went to Denmark, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Mexico, Bali.
Bali seems to be an extension of Western Australia at this point, I think.
Doesn't count, right? Yeah.
And was that always a love of yours, even back in the Woolies days and so on and so forth?
It was something that I always wanted to do, but I never had. I couldn't afford the time, and I couldn't afford it. So it's only just been in the last few years that I've gotten out there and done that.
So the career, I suppose, in the electrical industry has afforded you the ability to do a whole bunch of other things, not necessarily just the travel or the volunteering, but it's changed. I don't want to use the term changed your life, but it's changed the way you do things. It's changed the things that you've wanted to. You've finally been able to realise some goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think changing your life is dramatic but true to a point. My work-life ratio compared to Woolworths is a lot better. Woolworths is brutal.
Even with
retail
the
retail is brutal.
Yes.
Even with the invoicing. Yep.
So running your own business, how important is, we've sort of touched on it before, but you mentioned that you like to get some of the stuff done, like invoicing and all that kind of stuff, during work hours, so you've got time to spend at home.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's with people or a person or dogs.
Myself.
Or just yourself.
With the TV, it doesn't matter.
How important is work-life balance?
It's important.
Okay.
You cannot... it's important. You burn yourself out, you're no good to anyone. You're no good at work, you're no good at home, you're no good to yourself, you're no good to anyone. It's important.
And how has it differed from retail? I mean, you said it correctly. Retail is brutal.
Oh, it's brutal.
You're never turned off. You're always switched on, thinking about that customer that was rude to you, or that one that you helped, or what have you.
Yeah.
How does it differ from running your own business? One would think, and probably most people watching would think that you never turn off from that either. You're always thinking about this or that or the other thing.
Yep.
So do you have to delineate pretty hard, compartmentalise? You know, now is work time, now is playtime.
You do. You need to set yourself some limits. Like in the early days, I didn't. I just worked. You need to set yourself some limits. Woolworths, working for any corporate giant, you need to be available for them when they need you. There's peak seasons. Obviously, you got Easter, you got Christmas, you got the AFL Grand Final, you got all these things, and you need to be on hand for them, for Woolworths, for Coles, for whoever. You know, it's not about you. It's about the shareholders. There's no shareholders where I am. I am the shareholder.
You play to an audience of one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Last question,
Okay.
I promise.
No.
Would you do it all again?
All of it?
And would there be anything you'd change? Things that are within your control to change, I should say.
Probably. I'd probably do it again. I mean, yep. I'm thinking what I would change. You are a product of what you go through. So at the end of the day, you're made of scars. Everything that happened to me along the way, everything that I put up with, everything that I attempted to do I am a product of that. So would I do it again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Is there anything you want to add?
Nah.
Nah, you're good.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time.
That's okay.
Really appreciate it.
That's cool.
And I'll let you get back to your paperwork.
Righto.
Thank you.